Hi all, welcome to the session. This is VC here from VC's Academy. In today's class, we will discuss about reproduction in humans. So in my previous class, I have given the introduction about what is reproduction. So today we will discuss about reproductive system. In reproductive systems, you will see about males today. So male reproductive system. What is male reproductive system? So I tried to give the best diagrams which are present or which are available on Google. So it will be useful for you all to understand the concept very easily. Male reproductive system consists of testes and a series of ducts and glands. So what male reproductive system consists of? It consists of testes and a series of ducts and glands which are responsible for the production of secondary sexual hormones or characters and as well as the reproductive part. And sperm are produced in the testes and are transported through the reproductive ducts. So in male reproductive system, sperm is produced in the testes and these are transported through the reproductive ducts. These ducts include the epididymis, ductus deferens, ejaculatory duct and urethra. So what these consists of? So the male reproductive system consists of basically epididymis, ductus deferens, ejaculatory duct and urethra. Not only this, there are many parts which are present. So we will go one by one. So the reproductive glands produce secretions that become part of semen. Semen is the fluid that is ejaculated from the urethra. So reproductive glands produce secretions. So there are many secretions which are produced by various glands which are present in the reproductive system. These all becomes a part of semen, which is the white colored fluid which is ejaculated from the urethra. These glands include the seminal vesicles, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland. So these glands, what are the glands I have mentioned previously are, which will include seminal vesicles, prostate glands and bulbourethral glands. Not only these, the following are the parts of the reproductive system of a male. So what are they? So we can see the diagrammatic representation here, and now we will see the parts which are present in male reproductive system. So I will go one by one in detail. First we will see what are the parts present. Testes, scrotum, dartos muscle, cremastem muscle, seminiferous tubules, interstitial cells or which are also called as cells of Leydig, efferent ductules, blood supply, epididymis, ductus deferens, seminal vesicles, ejaculatory ducts, prostate glands, penis and urethra. So we will discuss one by one in detail. Coming to the first part, testes. So what is testes? What is the function of testes in male reproductive system and all we will see here. The testes are located in the scrotum. So what is scrotum? Scrotum is a sac of skin between the upper thighs, and in male fetus, if you observe, the testes develop near the kidneys that descend into the scrotum just before the time of birth. So when a baby boy or male fetus develops, the testes are present near the kidneys and they will jump down into the scrotum sac before the time of birth, just before the birth. And each testis is about 1.5 inches long and 1 inch wide. So if you observe the size and width, length and width, it is 1.5 inch long and 1 inch wide. And testosterone is produced in testes, which stimulates the production of sperm as well as it gives secondary sexual characteristics beginning at the puberty. So in testes, what is produced? In testes, testosterone is produced. What is testosterone? The secondary sexual characteristic hormone which is responsible for beard, mustache or secondary growth, like all the important characters which present in males at the time of puberty. So next, scrotum. So what is scrotum? The two testicles are each held in a fleshy sac called scrotum. I have earlier mentioned that testes are present in the scrotum. So what is scrotum? Scrotum is a fleshy sac which consists the two testicles in it. The major function of the scrotum is to keep the testes cooler than 37 degrees centigrade. Generally, we know that the main function of the scrotum is to maintain the temperature so that the sperm can be produced. So, the external appearance of scrotum varies at different times in the same individual depending upon the temperature and the subsequent contraction or relaxation of the two muscles which are present in the scrotum. So, when we see a human or a male has different feelings and different situations where the scrotum appearance will be different. So we will see what are those conditions. The two muscles contract involuntarily when it is cold to move the testes closer to the heat of the body in the pelvic region. So there are two muscles which are present in the scrotum. These functions involuntarily, so it has involuntary function and this moves when it is cold outside. So when the body temperature is less than the other, so it will move the testis closer to the pelvic region so that the body heat can be given to it. And then we have, this causes the scrotum to appear tightly wrinkled. So when the testes go to the region near to the body, that will become tight and they will become more wrinkled. So this causes the scrotum to appear tightly. So this is what I tried to give in the picture also. On the contrary, they relax in the warm temperatures, causing the testes to the lower and the scrotum to become flaccid. When it is cold, the testes will, the scrotum sac will become tight and becomes a tight ball-like structure. And when it is, the temperature is warm outside, when compared to the body, they come to the lower regions and the scrotum becomes flaccid, so very free. The temperature of the testis is maintained about 35 degrees centigrade below the normal body temperature. So I have earlier mentioned that the scrotum is mainly useful for production of sperms by controlling the body temperature less than 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade. So this happens when the body temperature is 37, the scrotum will be continuing with 35 degrees or 34.5 degrees centigrade. Temperature has to be lower than normal in order to produce or in order to perform spermatogenesis or to occur the spermatogenesis process. So why temperature is required to be lower in normal? Because the process of sperm production or spermatogenesis has to take place. A male can become sterile when these testes have been exposed too often to high temperatures, such as frequently into a hot tub. So generally male are having good strength and they are having good sperm production and all, but we can make, sometimes what happens, there is a bad habit with all, they will do hot water bathtub frequently. So when the more the testes are exposed to hotness, high temperature, so this causes to the non-functioning of the muscles and that will lead to sterility in males, which is not able to produce the sperm properly or not able to give the fertile male. And next, as in the previous slides I have discussed about two muscles which are helpful, two are muscles present in the scrotum, two muscles will do all this, one will do this, one will do that. So what are those two I am giving here? The two are dartos and cremaster muscles. So the dartos and cremaster muscles regulate the temperature of the testes. So coming to dartos muscle. So what is dartos? A dartos muscle is a layer of smooth fibers in the subcutaneous tissue of the scrotum which surroundings the scrotum. So dartos muscle is a layer of smooth fibers in the subcutaneous tissue of the scrotum and it surrounds the scrotum. So this surrounds the scrotum with smooth muscle fibers, and this muscle is responsible for wrinkling up of the scrotum in conditions of cold weather. As I have earlier mentioned that if the temperature is to be maintained, so it will become tight. So this tightness or wrinkling of scrotum is because of this muscle in cold conditions, and in order to maintain the correct temperature for spermatogenesis, dartos muscle is required. And we have cremasterium muscle, which is very important muscle. So what is cremasterium muscle? Cremasterium muscle is a thin strand of skeletal muscle. Cremasterium muscle is a skeletal muscle and is associated with the testes and spermatic cord. So this muscle is a continuation of the internal oblique muscle of the abdominal wall. So from where it is derived. So cremasterium muscle is a skeletal muscle and is associated with testes and spermatic cord, and this muscle is a continuation of the internal oblique muscle of the abdominal wall. So it is the continuation which is, or the process which go further, and it is derived from it. This is responsible for rising or lowering the testes to keep them at correct temperatures. So cremasterium muscle is helpful for, or is responsible for rising or lowering the testes in order to keep them at correct temperature. So in order to maintain temperature, cremasterium muscle is responsible. And as it is a skeletal muscle, it can also be contracted voluntarily. So skeletal muscles functions voluntarily or involuntarily, we know that. So we can do it voluntarily. The skeletal muscles, we can control them. And if you see, there are some special conditions, like some males, like athletes, those are runners or performers or wrong runners and all, they have the ability to consciously raise their scrotum up to protect themselves from injury while playing sport. So there are some sports like long jumps and all, or maybe some high jumps and all. The athletes who are doing that will consciously raise their scrotum up so that they can prevent them from the injury, and that further no issues will happen with their problem and all. And not all males have the ability to do so. So we have said that some males are able to do that, which are able, they have trained themselves to raise the scrotum up whenever it is required, but not all male have the ability to do so, right? So next, coming to the next point, that is seminiferous tubules. Some call it as seminiferous tubules and all. So whatever the translation or whatever the pronunciation may be, seminiferous tubules, which is of my kind. Each testis contains over 100 yards of tightly packed seminiferous tubules. So how many are present in each testis? There are over 100 yards of tightly packed seminiferous tubules. Around 90% of the weight of each testis contains or consists of seminiferous tubules. So on an average, 90% of the weight of each testis is with seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules are the functional units of testis. So what are the functional units of testis? Seminiferous tubules are the functional units of testis. Once the sperm are produced, they move from the seminiferous tubules into the rete testis. So where they are transferred or moved? Once the sperm is produced, they directly move into the rete testis from the seminiferous tubules. So next we have interstitial cells. So what are interstitial cells? In between the seminiferous tubules within the testes are the interstitial cells or the cells of Leydig. So generally we know the Leydig cells. These Leydig cells are also called as interstitial cells, which are present between the testes and seminiferous tubules within the testis itself. So what is its function? They are responsible for secreting the male sex hormone called testosterone. So what are responsible for producing the male sex hormone is interstitial cells or cells of Leydig. So Leydig is responsible for producing secondary sexual characteristic important hormone testosterone in males. And we have Sertoli cells. So what is Sertoli cell? A Sertoli cell is a kind of sustentacular cell and is a nurse cell of the testis, which is a part of seminiferous tubule. Sertoli cells are parts of seminiferous tubules, which are also called as nurse cells of the testis, and these are kind of sustentacular cells. It is activated by follicle stimulating hormone and has follicle stimulating hormone receptor on its membrane. So Sertoli cells are activated by FSH, which is also called as follicle stimulating hormone, and so these Sertoli cells have FSH receptor on its membrane, and its main function is to nurture the developing sperm cells through the stages of spermatogenesis. So in the stages of spermatogenesis, these Sertoli cells give nourishment or nurture them in different stages of sperm production. It is also been called as the mother cell. Sertoli cells are also called as mother cells, and it provides both secretory and structural support. Which gives secretory and structural support? Sertoli cells gives the secretory and structural support. So next, the functions of Sertoli cells form the blood testis barrier. So one of the important function of Sertoli cells is formation of a barrier between blood and testis, a structure that partitions the interstitial blood compartment of the testis from the adluminal compartment of the seminiferous tubules. So the junctions of Sertoli cells form the blood testis barrier, a structure. So the barrier is a structure that partitions the interstitial blood compartment of the testis from the adluminal compartment of the seminiferous tubules. So the interstitial blood compartment of the testis is partitioned or separated from the adluminal compartment of the seminiferous tubules by the junction of Sertoli cells. And Sertoli cells control the entry and exit of nutrients or hormones and other chemicals into the tubules of the testes, as well as to make the adluminal compartment an immune privileged site. So what makes adluminal compartment an immune privileged site is the Sertoli cells. How these do this? They control the entry and exit of nutrients, hormones and other chemicals into the tubules of the testes. By this they will make the adluminal compartment immune privileged sites. During the time of sperm maturation, large Sertoli cells nourish the immature sperm and filter out harmful things before they reach the sperm. So one of the important function of Sertoli cell is during the time of sperm maturation, large Sertoli cells nourish the immature sperm and filter out harmful things before they reach the sperm. And next, another functions, they support cells that form a blood barrier with the blood. So they also support in forming a blood barrier with the blood. So they produce some cells which help in making a barrier between the blood. The cell is also responsible for establishing and maintaining the spermatogonial cell niche. So we know already what is the meaning of niche. So in my classes related to environment and natural resources and all, we will get the term niche, so you can refer it. The cell is also responsible for establishing and maintaining the spermatogonial stem cell niche. During maturation phase of spermatogenesis, the Sertoli cells consume the unneeded portion of the spermatozoa. So another very important function of the cell is during maturation phase of spermatogenesis, the Sertoli cells consume the unneeded portion of the spermatozoa. The part of the spermatozoa which is not needed for further development and maturation, that all are consumed or used by the Sertoli cells. And next we have efferent ductules. The sperm are transported out of the testes into the epididymis through a series of efferent ductules. So what are efferent ductules? So these are transporting channels, and these are series, a group or a bunch. So the sperm is transported out of the testis into the epididymis through efferent ductules. Coming to the blood supply, so one of the important factor which we generally not discuss, but I thought this is useful for us to be part of this part. The testes receive blood through the testicular arteries, which also called gonadal artery. So testes receive blood. From where testis receives the blood, generally we will not discuss this, so I try to give which is useful here. This blood is received through testicular arteries, which are also called as gonadal artery. And next, venous blood is drained by the testicular veins. So which is the venous blood is drained by the testicular veins. The right testicular vein drains directly into the inferior vena cava. So the venous blood is directly sent into the inferior vena cava by the right testicular veins, and the left testicular vein drains directly into the left renal vein. So we have two testicular veins, the right and the left. The right one will directly drain the blood, venous blood, into inferior vena cava, and the left testicular vein drains directly the blood into the venous blood into the left renal vein. So there are two which we have to remember. The right testicular vein drains into inferior vena cava, and the left one into left renal vein. And next we have epididymis. The seminiferous tubules join together to become the epididymis. So bunch of seminiferous tubules join together to form the structure called epididymis. It is about 20 feet long. So what is the length of epididymis? If anyone asks, we can give the answer. It is 20 feet long, and it is coiled on the posterior surface of each testis. So if you observe, epididymis is coiled in structures on the posterior surface of the each testis. As we know that we have two testes, so on both the testes we have on the posterior side coiled surface of tubules called epididymis. The sperm completes its maturation and their flagella becomes functional in the epididymis. So the complete maturation and the flagella movement becoming functional occurs in the epididymis for sperm. So once again I am telling it, the sperm completes its maturation, so it becomes fully functional and its flagellum becomes functional in the epididymis. It is the site to store sperm until the next ejaculation occurs. So until the sperm is released outside the body or next in the intercourse, until then the sperm is stored in epididymis. Smooth muscles present in the wall of epididymis propels the sperm into the ductus deferens. So the smooth muscles which are present on the walls of the epididymis propels or moves the sperm into the ductus deferens. So next we have ductus deferens. So what is ductus deferens? Ductus deferens, very oftenly called as vas deferens or also called as sperm duct or spermatic deferens. These are all the names which we have for ductus deferens. Generally we call vas deferens and all. So actually the perfect term is ductus deferens, which is also called as sperm duct or spermatic deferens. It extends from the epididymis in the scrotum on its own side into the abdominal cavity through the inguinal canal. So if you observe, ductus deferens extends from the epididymis in the scrotum on its own side into the abdominal cavity through the inguinal canal. So which extends from scrotum to abdominal cavity through inguinal canal is ductus deferens. And the inguinal canal is an opening in the abdominal wall for the spermatic cord. So what is the opening for the spermatic cord in the abdominal wall is nothing but inguinal canal. The smooth muscles of the ductus deferens contract in waves or peristalsis during ejaculation. So during ejaculation, what happens? The muscles of ductus deferens or vas deferens contracts in waves of peristalsis. So we know what is peristaltic movement. So in that movement, at the time of ejaculation, the muscles move, which are of smooth muscles in the ductus deferens. And next we have seminal vesicles. The pair of seminal vesicles are posterior to the urinary bladder. So where we can find, so seminal vesicles are posterior to the urinary bladder. They secrete fructose to provide energy source to the sperm and alkalinity to enhance sperm mobility. So here it is very important to keep in our mind that seminal vesicles are the structures which produce or which secrete fructose to provide energy to the sperm, and also it gives alkalinity so that it can enhance the sperm mobility. The duct of each seminal vesicle joins the ductus deferens on that side to form the ejaculatory duct. So there are pair of seminal vesicles and we have a pair of ductus deferens. So these two join on the same side in order to form the ejaculatory duct. And next we have ejaculatory ducts. A pair of ejaculatory ducts are present and each receives sperm from the ductus deferens and the secretions of the seminal vesicles on its own side. So we know that there are pair of ductus deferens and pair of seminal vesicles, and now we have the ejaculatory ducts which are also a pair, and both join and forms a part which receives sperm from ductus deferens and the secretions of the seminal vesicle on its own side. Both the ejaculatory ducts drains or empty into the single urethra. So both the ejaculatory ducts comes and forms a single opening called urethra, through which it will empty or drain the sperm related and semen and whatever it is. And next we have prostate gland. So what is a prostate gland? Prostate gland is a muscular gland that surrounds the first inch of the urethra as it emerges from the bladder. So when we see the urethra emerging out of the bladder, the first inch of the urethra is surrounded by a muscular gland called prostate gland. The smooth muscles of the prostate gland contracts during the ejaculation to contribute to the expulsion of the semen from the urethra. So the main function of the prostate gland smooth muscles is they will contract during ejaculation to contribute the expulsion of the semen from the urethra. So this is very important. They may ask questions like which muscles of the prostate gland contract during the ejaculation process or to contribute the expulsion of semen. So the smooth muscles of the prostate gland contract during the ejaculation to contribute the expulsion of the semen from the urethra. And next we have bulbourethral glands. The bulbourethral glands are also called as Cowper's glands. So generally if you see in lower classes, we will see Cowper gland, not the bulbourethral gland. So here I am giving. So where are these located? These are located below the prostate gland and empty into the urethra. So just below the prostate gland, the glands which are present are called Cowper's glands or bulbourethral glands, and these empty the substances which come or produce into it into the urethra itself. And the alkalinity of seminal fluids helps neutralize the acidic vaginal pH and permits sperm mobility. So the alkalinity of the seminal fluids help in neutralizing the acidic vaginal pH. So generally vaginal pH will be acidic in nature. So the alkalinity of the seminal fluids will help them to neutralize and permits the sperm mobility freely in the vaginal body of the female. And next we have penis. What is penis? The external genital organ of the male reproductive system is called penis. So further in the earlier class I have told In my video lecture, I told that male reproductive system has outer side and inner side structures. So penis is the external genital organ in the males. The distal end of the penis is called glans penis and is covered with a fold of skin called the prepuce or foreskin. So the prepuce or foreskin is nothing but the fold of skin which covers the distal end of penis. Within the penis are masses of erectile tissues. There are plenty and thousands of erectile tissues which help the penis to get erect. Each consists of a framework of smooth muscle and connective tissue that contains blood sinuses, which are large irregular vascular channels. So each erectile tissue consists of a framework of smooth muscle and connective tissue that contains blood sinuses or blood capillaries or blood vessels, which are large and irregular vascular channels. And coming to urethra, the last part of male reproductive system. The urethral or urethra, which is the last part of the urinary tract, traverses the corpus spongiosum and its opening, known as the meatus, lies on the tip of the glans penis. Urethra is the last part and which opens or transfers opening into its opening called the meatus, that which lies on the tip of the glans penis. What is glans penis? I have already explained in my previous slide. So it is the common passage for both urine and for the ejaculation of semen. This is the urinogenital tract, and as we all know that males have common opening but females have different openings for urine as well as for ejaculation and all, so or for vaginal feelings and all.